Hey, so many of you probably have the pleasure of speaking with people who are skeptical about non-duality when you try to bring it up. Um, so generally, I don't. It's not a general topic of cocktail conversation, but sometimes people do ask, and then yeah, then I talk. But my husband is somebody who he's kind of watched me go through this for the past couple of years. And he's been supportive. He's been very supportive. And when I try to explain it, words really fail. And I'm like, dude, I've had to watch like 500 hours of videos to even kind of start to get a taste of what's actually being talked about. It's that kind of thing. I'm not going to ask you to watch 500 hours of videos, but you know, um, but I'll answer any questions you have. So we went to brunch yesterday or the other day, and he came out with some questions, and this is kind of how that went. So, um, for one thing, he's like, how do you know you're on the right path? I mean, how do you know that you're not just, heading toward a dead end or whatever? And I said, well, the nice thing is I don't have any identity in this path. Like, by definition, by kind of the tenets of the path itself, uh, you know, the path is not me. If the path is wrong, not a big deal. Uh, I think of it kind of like a good hiking trail. It looks interesting. People I instinctively trust tell me it's worth going on or it's going in the right direction. You know, if at some point I'm like, wait, this doesn't look right, then it's like, okay, well, either find another path or just sit down and stop going on paths or, whatever. I got options. It's not, no, nobody's forcing me to do anything. So it's not a big deal. And it's been a very interesting path so far. Uh, I've learned and experienced a lot. I'm feeling happier. I'm feeling freer, more cleared out from just crap that I never needed. Um, I feel closer to where I want to be, even though I don't really exactly know where that is. Um, and for now, it feels more interesting and fun than standing still. Although I guess the goal is standing still in a way, dynamic stillness. But yeah, I feel like I'm getting closer to that, closer to no path at all. And Angelo himself, like any non-duality teacher worth anything, says, you know, it's a framework, it's a raft, it's a bridge. It gets you somewhere. When you get there, throw it away. It doesn't matter, and it doesn't matter how you got there. This is just one option. Like they say this is the best one I found. Here you go. Take it or leave it. Good luck. Um, so yeah, and this is the first group I've ever felt like I fit in, um, even with my natural skepticism and hatred of group dynamics. So it's like it seems to attract people who are very simpatico with my personality. So why not? Um, and then he said, well, if it's true, because I kind of mentioned that one of the tenets of non-duality is that um, you kind of assume everything's happening for you. You kind of assume that whatever's happening is the best thing that could happen. And he said, well, what about free will? And I said, well, we can probably agree that if we do have free will, it's minuscule in the face of the momentum of the greater universe. And he said, yeah, but I like the idea of that minuscule amount of free will. Uh, and I'm like, okay, because that's fine. It's like I don't know the answer actually. I don't know if anybody does, but it does take pressure off to feel like I don't have to fix the universe. I don't have to go around and scramble everything up in my own image. Um, I can make offers. I can do things. I can create things, but without a an overarching agenda, without some feeling that I'm right and somebody else is wrong. It's just kind of stuff happening. Um, so that's kind of how I look at it. And then he says, "Well, but don't you want to achieve something?" And I said, achievements are like trees. They're like anything. If you want to plant a tree, great, plant a tree. But I no longer have like identity tied up in it, which actually feels like much more freedom, freedom of choice, freedom of uh, following my own inner guidance or intuition, because I don't need any external validation. So I can take achievements or leave them. I don't feel like I need to chase achievements in order to feel worthwhile or fulfilled. Um, and yeah, that feels like more freedom, not less. And he said, okay, well, then, but how do you know all this stuff's true that you're talking about? And I'm like, I don't. I don't know if, I mean, I don't know if there's truth value to anything that a human says. Um, but I don't have to believe anything. It's like you have sort of, it's almost like working heuristics. It's like this seems to increase the quality of my experience, or this seems to get me closer to freedom or joy or whatever. And so it's not like it's like, okay, so that's a belief, like put a staple in it, nail it to the wall. That's a belief. Um, the belief could change tomorrow. I don't put any identity in beliefs either. So it's not a big threat to me if my beliefs are wrong. It's like, well, it works for now. And when it doesn't, okay, throw it out. Um, the beliefs are like trees too. They come and go. They change in varying circumstances. Sometimes they get in the way and you chop them down. Um, but since there's no identity wrapped up in them, you can take them lightly, use them when they're useful, discard them when they're not. And even things like religion, ritual, ceremonies, these can be totally fun and useful too, as long as you don't cling to them and turn them into something that puts wedges between people and sort of divides us into categories and hierarchies. And because it becomes something we feel like we need to fight about. I'm right, you're wrong, you know? Yeah, so yeah, the sort of working beliefs or whatever, um, like everything happens for you, not against you. It helps you maintain equanimity and find lessons in everything, right? When you believe that way, or when you're like, okay, let's assume this for now. But even that might break down at some point. Trees get sick and die. There's really nothing to hang on to at the end of the day. Um, and as far as, I mean, if there is something to hang on to, it is your own experiences in the present moment. And I was talking to him about the energy body, which he doesn't really, and I didn't either. 3 years ago, I had no idea what the hell the energy body was. Would barely feel it, any part of my internal sensationscape. Um, and I said, I don't have to believe that. I experience that. And I had to kind of do different things to get in touch with it, like a Vipassana retreat. Plant medicine helped to some degree. Uh, reading a book and talking with people about it in a way that made my heart burn. I mean, you never know what's going to sort of activate that, but to me now, it's as clear to me as any other sense. It's as clear to me as vision. Like if somebody is born in a society where everybody's blind except for one person, and the one person tried to explain sight to everybody, they'd be like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" Um, Or, I said if somebody's never had an orgasm and you try to explain what an orgasm is, you know, words are going to fail. There's nothing else quite like an orgasm. And, but do you believe you've had an orgasm? If you've had one, yes, you do because you've experienced it. So it's like it's as clear to me as that. Um, so anyway, he asked, also because like I have no beliefs, I believe in nothing, right? He says, "Are you worried about nihilism?" And I said, "No, things are way too full and colorful, and even just logic brain itself has been able to." It can say things like, even in the darkest night, the simple fact that there's something instead of nothing can be a balm. Like, even if you're in hell, even if you feel like you're in hell, you know it's going to pass. Part of you knows it's going to pass. It's almost like the brain is actually helpful in that case. Uh, hopefully not in dissociating you, but just in giving you some space to take a breath and remember that not everything is this terrible feeling that you're feeling. And also, as time goes on, your bandwidth, I'm not going to say your bandwidth increases, but your understanding of how much bandwidth you have increases, such that when you have something that feels like this horrible, dreadful, depressive feeling, it's kind of like, yeah, that's happening maybe on this frequency over here. And then there's all this other band of frequencies that are also happening at the same time that you can tune into. I mean, again, like not in a dissociating way, but in a like, oh yeah, it's bigger than this thing that I'm wanting to fixate on. I don't have to fixate on it. I can experience it. I can let it pass through totally freely without grabbing onto it, without identifying with it, without feeling like it's filling up my entire space. It's kind of like, if the worst pain you ever felt in your life is stubbing your toe, then anytime you stub your toe, well, I think it's something milder, is getting I don't know, scrape on your arm or something. Then every time you get a scrape, it's like, oh, this is a 10 out of 10, man. Right? Um, Eventually you realize it's not a 10 out of 10. It's a 0.1 out of 10. And, or okay, let's say 0.5 out of 10. I don't know, whatever. Uh, and in fact, you can get a scratch on your arm and continue doing what you're doing and not sort of like, oh, I've got a scratch on my arm. This is the worst thing. It's like, oh, there's a depression moving through. Hi, depression. Yeah, you can be here. You can move through. Go ahead. It's more like that instead of, oh my God, I'm so fucking depressed. Uh, you know, um, yeah. But yeah, again, logic brain says even if your child is dying, you had some amount of time with your child, and that's a gift. Even if you're bankrupt and in jail, redemption can happen. A plague can lead to a renaissance. You just never know what's going to happen next. And if you've had even one taste of God, there's a deep sense that everything will be okay. And that was the kind of thing I really hated hearing when I was a militant atheist. And I don't expect militant atheists to take it seriously now. And again, God is just a word. You can say the universe, the mystery, the source, the creator, the Tao, whatever. Um, but even atheists have a lot to be amazed about and grateful for. And I'm grateful for my atheist phase because it taught me that even in kind of the worst case, meaningless, inert materialism scenario, it still isn't so bad. It's still pretty fucking awesome. Um, and so he asked, aha, but don't you want to go awaken everybody else? Don't you feel like you need to be an evangelical about it? And I said, you know, it's not really like that. Like, of course, I'd love it if everybody could awaken, and that's why Angelo does what he does, but it's fundamentally not something you can compel anybody to be or do. It's just not. It's like trying to force someone to have an orgasm. It's like you have to want it, for it to happen in any kind of meaningful way, in any kind of way that somebody's going to want to keep doing it, you know? Uh, I don't know, maybe you can like force somebody to take acid and then they change their life or something, but like that's, I don't know, I wouldn't, maybe there's some people who could benefit from being forced to take acid, but I probably wouldn't be the one to do it. Um, but yeah, no, I get uh, yeah, the people I know who are non-dual teachers. I mean, they're leading retreats, whatever. They have YouTube channels, but um, they're not millionaires. They're not mainstream. Uh, well, I guess that Michael Singer guy is a billionaire, but that kind of, just kind of happened. Uh, Nothing to do with his teaching. What else? Or I mean, sorry, he didn't profit from his teaching. He profited from his way of trusting in the universe. Uh, but yeah, um, yeah, and it's also, I think, useful to understand that you don't get to be anyone special by awakening. So it's not something that you can appeal to somebody's ego. Oh, you can, but when you get in real to the real deep nitty gritty of it, it's not about it's not about being special. And whatever you experience, whatever new things that you, or not so much necessarily new things, but new ways of experiencing things, whatever it is, it doesn't stay special for long. You habituate to everything, even like I think of it like the Harry Potter books, where first Harry is like, holy shit, there's magic and wands and potions and whatever, and pretty soon it's like, oh man, I gotta make another polyjuice potion. It's just like part of the background, part of the scenery. Um, or like smartphones, you know. So somebody a smartphone 20 years ago, their jaw's on the floor. Show it to somebody now, it's like, "Oh, I gotta turn this shit off. I keep getting too many notifications, you know." So it's kind of like that. Although it's not annoying, it's kind of awesome. Um, yeah. So maybe it's actually kind of the most robust belief system is one like this that can incorporate uh, the mysteriousness of existence. It says like, yes, non-duality or whatever we're doing, we're just making it up, or it's a means to an end to be eventually discarded. Um, and at any point, it's like, you want to change it? Okay, let's see what you got. It's not like blasphemy. It's like anybody can suggest anything. There's nothing heretical to say. If people don't like what you say, they might not listen, but that's true no matter what. So, um, and then again, a more robust belief system might be the most dangerous thing because you can rest in a robust belief system for a long time, maybe forever, and never look further. The stupidity and contradiction of most of our belief systems makes it easier to see through them. But yeah, I mean, non-duality, it's kind of self-correcting in the sense of like, it says straight up, don't get stuck here. This is not a resting place. This is a mode of transportation, basically. And meanwhile, I do still respect all the different ways that people find meaning in this life, as long as they aren't hurting anyone else. Like I never hold out like, oh, I'm better or I know more than everybody else. I could be the lost apostate. I could. Uh, I mean, in a way, you could say we always have to hurt someone else to live, even if it's a soybean or animals who live on land that's cleared for soybean production. So who's to say who gets to hurt whom? I don't know. But you gotta live. You gotta live. And I still love ceremonies. That's a that's a really nice way to spend time, and it feels often fruitful. And if not fruitful, at least just beautiful. Um, and beautiful can be meaning enough, end enough. Meaning is sort of like it's like everything else. It whirls out like a little eddy current. It exists when it exists. It's made up and then it dissolves, like everything else. So yeah, just skipping over the universe lightly. Um, in my little motor scooter of non-duality for now. So I'm happy here, and I'll be happy to see what comes next.